podcast listeners, if you hear my voice right now, I need you to do something for me. I want you to take out your phone or on your computer, go to Apple Podcasts, search for Ask Your Oldhead podcast. You'll see my logo, my little picture, my little image there. Find the show. Please rate and write a review. It's a small thing, but it helps others find this work and find what I'm doing here. And it really, really matters, as small as that may seem. So if you could please do that before we get into the show, I would much appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Let's get into it. Peace. Peace. I'm Majestic.
My brother, Justice Rajee.
All right. So we are here today, catching up, adding on. Been a pretty funky month. A lot of activity. And I thought it'd be good to close the month maybe with a little conversation, catch up on fatherhood in this season of life, as they say. The young people say in our third quarter era, third. I'm gonna say third quarter because we on that like getting over to half, but I don't think I ain't in the final quarter. I ain't in the.
Let's assume we just hit halftime early in the third.
Yeah, we're gonna have a funky, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna keep it funky to around 79, 80, then maybe 82. We slow it down, go to the fourth quarter. We'll see. We'll talk about that when we get there. But and also a little bit tap in, which we'll get to on the back end. But Black Music Month, and so by the time folks listen to this, at least get a little anchor, little toe, put a toe in the water, just wet your feet a bit. So with that, I guess I think at this point, I mean, I have two children that are both over 20 years old now, right? And you have I'll allow you to speak for yourself on my niece and my nephew, and the sense that I think is interesting is like Father's Day, we went to the 8 Seconds Rodeo, and we went to have dinner before at an Ethiopian place with my child, her partner, and her father. And I guess we've done the same thing 2 Father's Days in a row, which has been cool because the rodeo was pretty fun. And a little bit of acknowledgement, but it's a interesting thing being like the parent. I know people who are parents, not of just like a teenager or younger people, but like people my age and their parents are like little kids or little
small children,
small children, like just starting out there. And the celebration of fatherhood, and it's still I guess a central theme. Some ways good, some ways bad, right? In our larger public discourse, especially around Black men, and sort of continuing the pushing against the things that are popular, accepted narrative of Black men and Black fathers, while also acknowledging in this moment the way that the discussion of the roles or our public sort of discourse can I don't know, somehow turn into something that's positive, like having to defend itself. Also something that does have a reasonable space for critique or concern, or at least that we should be looking at. But us not always being the best as a current place in time of separating the streams of conversation, and that then when Father's Day comes up, instead of like, oh no man, Father's Day, good times, like to becomes like we got to have a referendum on like where fathers are at right now, and like what's going on with Black men, what's the state of breaking down the patriarchy or this or that. Anywho, so wanted to just share a thought, and I think especially both of us again with although both not over 20, not little kid, not small child parents, right? And I've known you the whole time you've been a father, salute to you. You know what I'm saying? Out here, my main man's. You know what I'm saying? Took the wheel when you had to take it, and I just have had some, interesting things because even that with two people that are over 20 years old, you don't and I'm still the child, and the fortunate child that has, my mother's still here. So like you say, you get still in the dialogue of being the child to a parent who you're like, so this is my continuum,
Yeah.
so to speak. And so yeah, I wanted us to just add on a little bit. And if there's someplace that for you at this moment, is there something that yeah, it's coming up for you or was present at this time in
Yeah.
your
I think
pathway?
a couple things, just, and I think it could go without saying, but I don't think it should, to honor you for your fatherhood. Um, in the way that you have shown up, not just for your children, but as a community father.
Mhm.
Um, I think that, it is important to note the role of that. And community fathers don't necessarily have to replace fathers.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have that dialogue where like the community father had to replace the fathers. No, sometimes community fathers are just other brothers, like, my pop and them, because just the brothers,
Yeah.
right? And they played those kind of roles, and didn't mean that my father wasn't present, right? For men to play that role. It's just to have multiple examples of manhood and of furthering, right? Yeah, as a parent of a 29-year-old and a 16-year-old, right? And a gap there. So like you talked about your two children in your 20s, I got a 13-year gap because I couldn't afford them. One on our salaries at that time was expensive, right? You know, and so you gotta get to a place where you can afford children, man.
Oh man.
Um,
Whew.
because they have great fortune, they are a blessing to you, but especially in America, they are not cheap,
Mhm.
right? And for me, the range of experiences I wanted to present. I do think too it's interesting to talk about how one of our first ideas around this whole equation was really talking about Black fatherhood, right?
Mhm.
One of the first things you and I really talked about. And that was a number of chapters ago. And I think there's been a much more nuanced take on fatherhood in the Black community since that conversation. Um, Generally, right? You still have, on social/interest media. Brother said something to me one day that he said, as much as you call it social media, it's really interest media, because it's not really about you socializing with others anymore. Right. Like there's a place where when it began, it was like you talking to other college students, or you going on Black Planet and meeting new
Mhm.
people. And,
Right, right. Meeting
like
your
generally speaking,
peers.
you don't meet nobody new on the internet.
Mm-mm.
You know them and then they follow you online.
Right.
So it's not really social, which when he said it, it kind of it expanded my thoughts around it, because then it made me think, yes, if you call it interest media, it's much more connected to the algorithm. Like your interest gets sent to you. And so I'm like, okay, so my interest gets sent to me by people who I have shared interests with. Hence, people will send you stuff in your DMs about stuff. Everybody sends people stuff in DMs they think it's funny, right?
Yep.
And it reinforces you watching the algorithm, right? But I would say, there has been a more nuanced conversation about Black fatherhood. There's always still the whole, kind of thing where, can a person play both roles, and all that, which I just think is tough to go away until you get to some collective understanding. But I do think it's a different time. So for us, those, maybe 12 years ago, or even more, the idea of Black fatherhood was more of a thing where I would say we both thought like, hey, we need to build on this. Where now it's kind of like it's obviously still important, but there's a lot of people in the conversation now. How thoughtful all the conversations are is different, but there's a lot of people in it. So yeah, I just think, and even, the idea of Asher Oldhead, and talk about community leaders and men of respect in our communities, I think again, kind of just a through line, right? That has been there. Very similar to you, I think about fatherhood now in the sense of being a father to someone who was in the world existing and functioning and flourishing, and then someone who was still finding their way for what that means. And especially a boy who is finding his way in the world of what that means in an era unlike anything we've ever seen before. Like, you know, not to get too off color here, but people, in our generation, remember if you were trying to watch something that was a little racy, there was like a videotape. There was a set of videotapes people were hiding somewhere.
Yeah, it's tape
Right.
somewhere. Maybe a channel at a certain time, or
Well, I
like
was gonna go into
HBO
that.
or the
Like,
Cinemax or something. You knew later at night
exactly.
might
Late
have
night
some,
is
at least some,
late night Emmanuel
yeah,
movie.
a little blue, something a little blue, a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Might be some, might be some racy scenes. Maybe like a movie from another country with bad dubbing.
exactly. And that's what it meant to, like, you wanted to see something a little racy, something a little adult. You had to find someone in your family or someone at your friend's family of videotapes, or keep trying to watch Cinemax to see what you can see.
Right.
Right. See if you can see something.
No, you know what I mean?
Imagine now kids have all the access to every element of adult sexual behavior you can ever imagine. They have it on their phones to watch and engage at any time. There's also a constant through line in young people's lives of what it means to be in relationships, often taking on very adult behaviors, not just sexually per se, but also just in the sense of what does it mean to be a boyfriend at 15 and 16, which is entirely different than anything that's ever meant to be a boyfriend before. And so I think about that and think about that, and the opportunities and still challenges of what it means to raise Black boys, and not from a fear perspective, but also acknowledging a constantly changing world. Right? I think about, and this is for boys or girls. I think about the world we grew up in around, like, hey, what does it mean to get a college degree? What does it mean to graduate from a school, go to a quality college, maybe get your degree and then start your process, right? And the idea that the college degree was kind of like the thing that would separate you in the work world. Well, now 30 years, 32 years after we graduated, that is, and unless you're talking about going to very particular schools, that is not the case. Right. And we're seeing a breakdown, a fundamental breakdown, which I think is also playing out in our national politics in ways that I think people don't want to talk about. I think young people's the changing landscape of work has changed how young people vote and what they want from elected officials differently. But that, for, if we could say that for um Mom Donnie stand and the conversation around, you know, the 30 the 35-year-old man that would be king. Um, but yeah, so just like thinking about that. So when you're thinking about what does it mean to say a black boy growing into a black man that then wants to be able to, like, do what he wants to do in the world and pursue his dreams and aspirations in a landscape that is rolling out in a very unique way, even differently than his sister, who was pre-pandemic. Like, she graduated high school, Azani graduated high school in 2015, and graduated college in 2019, which in some ways allowed her to escape. Like, she was right on the cusp of having to deal with anything educationally wise in during the pandemic, right? And the real things of the challenges and changes that the pandemic has had on education and subsequently young people. So I think about these kind of things, and just like anything else, what does it mean to evolve being a father, just like what does it mean to evolve in any other space as communities and people change, right? Um, and how do you put that on the table when a lot of people tend to want to parent how they had been parented,
Yeah.
right? But you're in a new time, so parenting the way you were parented might make you feel better, but the question will be, will it be effective
Right. Is it
for for the people and the humans that you're trying to help move through society, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that comes up for me with that and with my two young people, the coconuts as I call them, you I would say there are things that I frame in the what I think is sort of the like, or at least maybe in view of what some people when they say like a traditional father role, right? You're dependable, you're there, you can be counted on. Um, I guess when I read other people's accounts of like, so all right, here's the example. So I was watching every once in a while. My the toe I dip in the world of reality TV is like the Alone kind type of survival shows. They're like, "Dude,
Okay.
put them in the forest because like well, reason one because it is interesting on the second level because of even the least outdoor training that I've had the opportunity to take is also always like it really wouldn't be the best idea to be by yourself if you were out in the forest. Like you'd actually be more productive if you had a people or guess what, a village. But anyway,
Well, and you're the
just in
resident
case you
teacher.
somehow find yourself
You're the
alone in the
resident teacher.
woods.
So, okay, that
You know what
makes
I'm
sense.
saying?
This tracks.
However, I was watching the episode, and I think it was the most recent season, and it was like two different, maybe even three, who just had like and they were being, gonna get the people get out there with the camera by themselves, and they get to just, it was one dude who he actually decided to go home. I think he like realizes like, yo, I should be with my family. Like I should be with my kids. I shouldn't be out here, even if winning this would give me this money to allow me to do something for my kids. I don't want to be out here I want to be with my family. I want to be where my kids can see me. But the one dude, started sharing like a real. And it was like, yeah, my father never said this to me and never did that, but like that's how the pain and you just kept on going. And then, the thing I've in my own practice of life, I try to be like, if I don't have to give you a direct perspective or my opinion on what you shared with me, I'm willing to just let it kind of sit out there in the air like a unfinished pie or a stale fart, whichever positive background you see that. You know what I mean? When you just like, hey man, it happened, it's out there. You know what I mean? The pie we ate half the pie, it was good. And the other part, like, that one you had, everybody has to cut one every once in a while, and we don't all gotta bring it up, man. We just we just go keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it pushing. But and it got me thinking. I was like, that is an interesting, way to vis-a-vis, like this man was processing, like, basically as I took it, he was processing the love and affection for his father and the things that his father did for him that meant something for him. But also like some stuff that I was like, hey man, don't be that dude. You don't got to be that guy. Like you don't got to be
Right.
that man. Like there's no requirement to be the man that you're describing, and that would not be in conflict with the man that maybe gave a hug every once in a while. You know what I'm saying? Sat down quietly and watched a show together and said, yeah, I like you. Oh shoot, hey, guess what? I love you. You're mine. You know
Right,
what I
right.
mean? Right, like these sorts of notions, and I've, I think I've shared, these over the years and some of the interviews, other things, or in our other conversations. I don't have I push back against the sort of notions about the male human development. As a man, you just naturally want to do this part. I'm like, that ain't scientific at all. There's no evidence of that. I have the discrete notion of a male figure in my life nurturing me and taking care of me and being a care provider, but and being a person that looks out. So saying that to say, at this like stage in my own journey, you know, sometimes my kids call me and they got questions about stuff that is like, you know, I was thinking it's not necessarily always some like complicated problem solving as much as I want my father. I want to you. One times like I'll say my daughter especially. I just want to tell somebody the stuff that I went through today, and I'm going to you want to hear my story. I'm going to tell you my stories. You don't necessarily need to solve anything. You don't need to necessarily give me an opinion, but I do want you to listen to me talk about my story, right? The other child, who, big grown man called me and want to update me on what's happening with his flag football and some other stuff he was working on this week, and just, be in contact with you. And I think it is a, sort of fighting the urge that you have to be doing, a thing every time you're engaging with your kids. Like solving a problem or helping them, or like, I got time. I gotta go provide. I ain't got time to be thinking about if the. And I was like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff that becomes like, I mean, that's like, God, but it don't take that long to take about 10, 15 minutes to sit and listen to somebody. Like, it don't, it ain't outside of the maybe this challenge you may feel, which, that gets into a different thing, right? Um, you are used to. It is something I've had to, especially my kids have gotten older. It's like, your father is that could be a challenging person to hang out with on. Like, you just want to tell me something you was thinking, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Where you get that from? How'd you come up with that question? What you trying to say? It is like, it's like, I got to turn off the justice investigative mind as in like, right? Because that's a part of my thing, right? And it's that is not actually something that your child is doing, but then the broader thing of like, and this is something I've been trying to work on, is understanding yourself as, individual, personal, person, your own identity, but being within a system of people, right? Which in this case involves, your kids and your partners, um, other significant adults, or people that matter, and that, what is the behavior that is moving to sort of like, again, this more collective world, um, as opposed to just it's all like you simultaneously have your very close personal relationship with your children, but then there's a broader thing of like your relationship with them and their grandparent, or uncles, aunts, or close friends, or their your kids' friends who come around you and be when they're with your kids. Like, how do they interact with you? How do they see
Right.
you? Are you demonstrating a behavior of, and I go back to this from my, intervention and service work. Are you demonstrating an adult protective shield for the people younger than you? Right. That there is a world of care that is not limited to my kids, because the expectation to me should be care and well-being, right? Like, so
Right.
if I'm outside, putting the trash out and the kids up the street, you got some new young people in the neighborhood actually, if they getting their bike ride on and one of them fall, what I mean? That I'd be like, hey, you all right? Where's your house? Let me go get your moms, your people, your pops, somebody home. Like, what I mean? That I wouldn't want those kids to think. I'd be like, oh man, sucks to be you, kid. Hope your dad comes out. You know what I'm saying? Like, suck it up, little buddy.
Suck it up. Me tough.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't coming over there. I'm a father of this house. I'm not a man in the world. I only care about kids that come out of these doors, right? Like, so these sort of values that we have we got a society that be on some, weird individualism that's like, I don't really think that's in tune with, these are especially not our value systems. It's like, all the kids, I want all the kids to be cool. And also, guess what? I want all the funky old people that might live on this street, that might, feel some sort of way about it, the way you want to cut your grass. I hope you get what you need out of life too. Like, I don't need you to be over there being sad. And so that's like, sort of a balance in terms of like, how am I showing up as a father, which we may limit to the expression of like the direct relationship with, your child again. And as you brought up, maybe care in in a close aspect of like nieces, nephews, or whatever have you. But I think about it like just in a general sense of trying to further the well-being of others, and that I have some sort of responsibility for that. So, you know, and also getting at least get the big piece of chicken or the extra vegan dipping sauce on
Yeah,
on
right.
Father's Day. You know what I'm
The
saying?
oyster mushrooms
Get the
versus
get the, get
just
the
the
oyster
regular
mushroom.
mushrooms.
Right.
You said enhanced
The oyster
shiitake,
mushrooms is
the
nice
oyster
too.
mushrooms.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We
he
ain't
had
just getting no
lion
shiitakes
mane
today.
mushrooms. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got the big dogs now. You know what I mean? Um, no, I think you make a great point. And the other thing is like I'm not trying to compare, but it's almost like coaching. Like you can't coach two players the same. You have to have a system, but you can't coach no two players the same because no two players come with the same, like from a sports perspective. And it's the same way when you have different children, they are born into a different time, depending on like, if they're with the same mother or, like they're just different. Right. And the thing learning just about the systems of like the uniqueness and care that you have to bring to fathering. Um, in that context, and then also knowing the shifts, right? Like one of the big things for me with Azania was and is, what does it mean to be a father when your child is in a relationship, a long-term partnership, right? And like what does that mean, because you're still a father, but at the same time there's a man there, right? Like there's a man there. Like, and you got to respect that, right? And a lot of times when we, as fathers, it's like we cast a really big shadow, right? And to your point about the uniqueness of even those kind of relationships, like how do you as a father connect to when your daughter has a partner, right? And can you provide care and concern for him within the context of, well, we're all here together because of her, but at the same time, if you're here, then I care for you too.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you really make that all make sense? And again, there's no book about it. Again, communities are all different. What things are passed down from people, the last thing I'll say is I think much in the same way you said, like, what does it mean to be a father but still be a child, even though you're not a child, right? So that's the thing, like you're not a child, but you're still a child of someone. So how do you navigate the relationship of being a son to, one of the unique fellows on the planet for me? My pops is a unique guy. He's one of one, like literally. None before him and none to come. The cloth, I'm similar, but they did away with that.
They
That
make it.
cash.
They ain't got too many more of those models on the line.
No, they ain't got too many more of them bags. So what does that look like? And how do you show up? And how do you show up with? And you can appreciate this, and I'm sure many listeners can, as our parents get older, right? And what does that mean, right? And how do you kind of respond, especially specifically to your father in those kind of ways, right? And so, yeah, I just wanted to I think it was important because again, so much of what runs through the through line of our conversations and frankly, much of our lives is this idea of us being men who try to live by rules and honor and distinction and who center fatherhood, whether it is again individual, community, universal sense. And while people want to juxtapose what happens on either of the days, I'm more concerned about what messages get passed down about fatherhood that keeps community healthy. Because, and this is really that thing. I was thinking about how, like you talked about how many of the framings of fatherhood that we understood from the industrial period in America had everything to do with economy, right? Like people went and worked really hard jobs. If the jobs that harmed their bodies, right? Jobs that left imprints on them. So when they came home. It probably was better not to talk to them. And then when you add racism, white supremacy into the conversation, right? So somebody goes to a job, it is in a factory, and then comes home and has been subjected to racism and white supremacy through their job. And then come home, they probably need 30 minutes to decompress. Like now we would see it like that, but guy come right home and shut the door. And so we got this idea of men being like, if I provide, that's enough. But that had everything to do with our economy, right? Now, most of us, not all of us, because still some people work in a factory because we like things. So if someone in a factory probably did it. If you look far enough, somebody somewhere in a factory built it. You know, we're on Al Gore's internet. And but we're on computers that were built by people.
Yep.
I don't think robots are fully building computers yet. It'll be close, but so it's different. So trying to take the time of how men conducted themselves in an industrial period and then bring it to a post-industrial and technological AI period, right? It doesn't even make sense just because that's not what you didn't tote the barge and lift the bale and then come home and need to be quiet for 45 minutes because your foreman almost spit on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to come home and transition and engage with, but that's not what we're coming from, and so, fatherhood, like anything, evolves, but I think the goal is to produce healthy humans, right? And so you got to look at the time you in to produce the humans, that to the best of your ability, you can help bring into existence. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, man, and it's, I say the other thing I just would add on that note too is, similar and something that I think we've talked about in these couple conversations is like that our fathers of the past, just like us as fathers now, are full humans that have interests in things that uh don't necessarily pertain to your role as a parent, right?
Mhm.
So whether that's a you know a, a you got a hobby, you got a unique interest in, what I'm saying, you know 1940s tailoring or something. Yeah, I mean, like
Right.
that may, you like, I've been talking about the Knicks for the last 3 weeks, the NBA champion New York Knicks, and
We get it, the NBA champion New York Knickerbockers. Yeah,
which
we
is,
heard about that.
our enjoyment of sport is maybe something that one would associate with, like, oh, that's a reasonable thing for like a father and a man to be in America. But also it's like, yeah, I'm into it, but like every person, that is not necessarily something that is innate, that is augmenting to my role and behavior as a parent to my children. But it is something that my kids may understand, like, man, that really makes my father happy when this happened, right, like we in it. So in other times, um having the space in the way you get to live in the world to like explore your interests, explore the things that you're curious about, that my grandfather may not have had the opportunity to, like, die. On one side, I have a grandfather who basically, I think got through an 8th grade education, and then a couple of things, and then I don't remember. Basically, got in the Marines, I think, a little younger than he was supposed to, or the military younger than he was supposed to, served World War II. And then went out in the world, do the things, things that my grandfather may have just found interesting, that he's like, man, I really like snails, man. Snails are cool. Like, the world did not afford my grandfather's generation to just be somewhere like, yeah, pop up there with them snails again. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, or if it was, it would be on some like, yo, look, I'm gonna go do my snail thing on Saturday, and y'all ain't gonna mess with me when I go do it. And everybody just leave it. Like, there's a lot of things in our modern age that we don't project back the level of individual humanity operating within a system and a structure that
No, that's please, bro. Yeah.
these fathers had. You know what I mean? And then, notwithstanding like I said, open the can of worms of the one Billy Nelson, my father. But the you know, people got a world that they are, and then they also have things that they are, like being a father, being a parent, being a friend, being a brother, being a sister, being a sibling, being a part of these other dynamics, that those different pieces may not always align. And especially if one in our system is clearly like you experience the material limitation of you being able to, like, if you ever wanted to do something with your kids and you just ain't had the money, right? You experience immediately the, like, damn, I really want to take them to do this, but we ain't got it. Right. And then what do I do? How do I feel about myself? How do I feel about them? Are they upset? Like, you can lead to a whole cascading set of thoughts and feelings. And similarly, if as a citing example you brought up, like, if you was at the job and your foreman was just wild disrespecting you, but you also understand I can't afford to lose this job. So I got to eat this. I'm gonna eat this, and I'm not in a good way about this. So, and how do and then I don't want to take it out on my kids, and I don't want to talk to my partner in a crazy way because this man talked to me in a crazy way, right? And so all of that's wrapped up in there, man. So it's just the ups and the downs, the plus and the minuses, the changes and the times, but gotta keep it on. But I think it's good to have us be reflective and to think about, like, in this moment, like, these are some of the dynamics that come to mind.
And well, just, I know we want to transition. One thing I will say is I think it is important when people get in relationships to understand how people parent and how it matches with your parenting style. Because, everybody wants a good father, but a good father means different things at different times for different people, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's not just one good father. There are a variety of good
Right.
fathers who have a variety of takes on the world. But people get in relationships that I want a good, he's a good man, Savannah. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, yes, he's a good man. Is he a good father? Based on what you come from or understand.
Yeah.
Right. And then being able to have that flexibility to understand that people, again, that want to be in relationships can come from different perspectives on parenting and the ability to create a mold and a meld of, like, of what that means to be a parent.
Mhm.
Right. So, yeah.
Jim.
AKA, stop picking them guys that you like, but them guys don't like their kids. You know what I'm saying? They don't like their kids, man. They don't want to spend time with their kids.
Yeah.
If they don't spend time with the kids they had before you, you got to question, will they spend time with yours eventually?
There's a real low chance they planning to spend time with any kids that he's spending time with.
Man.
Anyway. Yeah, man. It just. And if you're out there and you're a father and you're trying to figure it out, tap in with some other fathers, because that is the one thing
That's
I think
right.
we could do.
That's right.
Over the Father's Day weekend is participate in activity with my man Patrick and 4 fathers, and just being with some other fathers, having a little.
Yeah,
fun.
I went and got an award for LL, man. They gave him an award.
Okay.
At the crib. Yeah,
That's
man.
right.
They gave
That's right. I forgot you went down to pick up.
They gave him a big map of Africa, the whole thing, man. It was right on, man.
Man.
Yeah, the brothers was brotherins. Brother, they got a Father's Day committee in Philly that's been doing an event for like 30 years, right? For this exact purpose. So just to your point, just wanted to say that, like, regardless of where you at, there are places where you can connect with men who are fathering, and get support.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to do it alone. It doesn't have to be like you said, going out and there in the survivor shit. Like, you can get help with it, because there are no instructions.
Yeah, definitely not. All right, that's peace. So, what we talked about doing to do a little, Black Music Month sign off was just maybe sharing some newer artists, younger. I took that as newer and or younger than me, and maybe something that at least I like that maybe the young people like. I don't know if the young people like it or not, but they younger than me,
Right,
and they
maybe,
making it.
maybe not.
Therefore,
Right, yeah.
somebody like it.
somebody listen. Somebody
like it.
Like old black people, somebody like it.
Somebody like it. So we were just gonna I guess share some artists that we've been listening to, maybe encourage, and then I don't know, some of these I don't know if I put together like actual like individual songs to recommend, but I tried to at least make a little quick list, and then so I don't know how you want to kick it off or start. You just want to share somebody you listening to, or
I'll share, because for me it's like they're names, but they're kind of attached to themes. And I've trying to been thinking about it. The new Earth, Wind and Fire documentary is out. I haven't watched all of it. I've watched a lot of it, and I watched enough of it that I would suggest watching it for anybody.
Oh yeah, I've been saving it. I'm planning to try to watch it this week, or maybe
I think it is. It's really worth a watch on a couple different levels. One, that the evolution of Earth, Wind and Fire, right? And specifically of Maurice White, right? In his relationship to like being from Memphis to moving to Chicago and then moving to LA and creating, there were various incarnations and iterations of Earth, Wind and Fire. And what they became with the Black Futurism was like, that was an iteration. The earliest part wasn't necessarily, hieroglyphics and pyramids shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but just like, and also the process of like when you have an artist who is like the dominant thing, and what does it mean, and your messaging, and does everyone agree? So it's worth watching. But I was thinking about themes just in the context, one, of like Black music and how now, and we've talked about this before, but like older artists are creating compelling music in a genre that up until recently has still been very, very young people centric. Mm-hmm. But one thing I was thinking just is like Drake is like 38.
Yeah, spring
right?
chicken.
Like Drake is not like young and he's had a hell of a run. I'm not one of them guys. He's had a hell of a run, a hell of an artist, if not, doesn't ring my bell, blow my hair back as far as his writing, but like a hell of an artist. But he's 38. So even thinking about the biggest artist in hip hop being almost 40. And then you kind of book in that with Jay-Z doing a rollout for an album that came out 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. Right? And having the most talked about freestyle, and then Nas and AZ last night, the Roots Picnic, another group who's been out since the 90s. And with another group of two people, Nas and AZ, who did a song in 1993, which is still an insanely popular song to people. Life's a bitch. So it's interesting in the hip hop context that while we talk of being so youth oriented, the actual thing about hip hop and what and who's doing it and who does it well, everyone's getting close to their 40s. Now, if they're acting like kids and second childhood, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But they're older. So I wanted to kind of frame that. Then for the two rap artists that I wanted to bring to bear, one who I've been spending a fair amount of time listening to, a rapper by the name of Errol Holden, kind of our generation. I think probably one of the most compelling writers of the last maybe 10 to 15 years in hip hop. And I say that specifically because I think he is a compelling writer. The raps can be almost spoken word, but the actual writing and the attention that he has to writing, I think is fascinating. You can't always listen with sensitive ears because he's telling a story, and the story is not like all positive. It's his story. He's especially kind of in the last, I think 2 years, he's put out like 9 projects, like, but yeah, I think he's putting together the most compelling writing, of any artist right now, up there with how I think Nas is still a very compelling writer. Of course, I think Black Thought is a still very compelling writer. I think whenever you can find a Mac Hami song, Mac Hami, who people may have known about. He's also a very compelling writer. Because that's really, at this juncture in hip hop, I'm listening for the writing. I'm listening for the thing that, like, if I would read fiction, I'm almost listening to it like I would read fiction in the use of words, right? I'm not listening to it for how authentic this person is, because from what I've seen, the most authentic rappers the people who are really authentic sometimes can't really rap that good. And then sometimes the people who can rap really good wasn't really authentic. So I've reconciled that in my life, my real nigga time. I've stopped trying to figure out, like, but yeah, say Arrow Holden is a really, really, really compelling writer. Another one, he's not really young and he just came back out, was why I'm listening to right now, was a Roscoe P. Coltrane. Previously with Star Trek and Pharrell, The Clips. He did a long stint in jail, came out with an album. Also a really good writer. Also very poetic in almost spoken words and some of it and stuff. And then third is the person who's on the hip hop side is Tierra Whack. Tierra Whack out of Philly. She just put an album out called Wax Museum. And I would actually say, like, anyone who says they like lyrics should go listen to it. Like, if you care about, like, somebody, insert term for rapping, dumping, spitting, whatever your way that you like to describe, flowing, bussing, whatever that shit is you like to say. Yeah, like whatever you say, she's doing it. Right. And she is up and she is doing it at an extremely high level. So yeah, I just wanted to get that theme out. And so I'll pass it to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I've not ventured into Arrow Holden. I've heard y'all speak on it. I'm gonna just go ahead and put it on my queue here to go ahead and just listen to something and then dive in. But I've heard of his works. So a couple. I mean, I guess I'll start with. I mean, I brought up, and I think in another playlist thing we did, like, I like Alex Isley and singing stuff, the stuff she's doing on her own, stuff she's done with Terrence Martin. Her put out a record. Just, how I would say R&B, singing about love and loving people and being in situations in a way that I like. But then a little bit of some other stuff, and then some things. It's like, that's for y'all young people. That song's for y'all people that's young. But these other ones, these are ethics or ideas that I would be in tune with, sort of the musical tradition of R&B, singer. But you got something to say. I mean, you're not always on the nose. It's not a whole bunch of, like, put it in my booty kind of songs. Yeah, I'm saying, they mean it's real unpoetic the last 15 years with what people are calling being, I guess, sexy or provocative, where it's just like, yeah, I'm going to tell you exactly the sexual act. It's like, give brother a little mystery here. You know what I'm saying? Like, can we get a little, like, because it's a little too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of taking the mystery, I think, and I'm not here for no mysteries. You know what I'm saying? Just in case anybody.
You're not here for the mystery, the bigness.
You know what I'm saying? But the poetry, the rhythm, the atmosphere of intimacy and care and love and enjoying time with a person. It's not just about, where the body parts go. You know what I'm saying? It's a bigger thing than that. And so I appreciate that aspect, and the music be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the tones, the sounds, who's playing the instruments, that stuff be cool. On the rap side, actually, there's an artist from here, Dante Thomas, who I enjoy. I've heard first. I guess first heard some of his music over the years from some of the young people here, including my son, playing his music. And I think he's had a couple. At least some. I know he was on a BET thing a couple years ago. I don't know, BET. He's had the ciphers before the joints. You know what I mean? But he's I like I don't always. I would say I'm not like it's not 1990 and I know on Tuesday something new's coming out and I'm going to search for folks. But when I go to look through and like start listening to some of his catalog, I was like, okay, I like this is rapping. I like it. You know what I mean? Then there'd be some other stuff that's, the thing they do these days, that's the thing they do, that's a little bit different. You know what I mean? It's not all like, 200 tracks of boom bap, you know what I mean, which is cool. You know what I mean? I could dig it. Um on a beat too, I guess. And I'm gonna put these two together. I'll put one's K Tronada
Okay.
just across wherever most of the time if K Tronada's doing something, I kind of like it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
more
yeah.
producing
You
and
don't
usually
miss. Yeah,
other
generally,
people will be singing. But you could dance to it, you could drive to it, you could lay back and put clean your kitchen, clean your office, vacuum, and get two step um good sounds. And I've been listening to a lot of Tall Black Guy and so when I brought up Tall Black
absolutely.
Guy on other thing and both of them tapping in, at least for me, to sort of that I would associate with sort of like that place that is like house, electronic, soulful. Again, you could dance to it, you could be doing something else to it. Um Lots of different vocalists coming in and out. But that's stuff that I've been listening to a lot. You know what I'm saying? I would say, and then like, even from
Plus, it
yeah,
ain't a
just
whole bunch of people talking, man. Like the
yeah.
thing about Tall Black Guy and Stro Elliott, another
Mhm.
one of the other
Mm.
guys, like they do the music is definitely hip hop influence, but they're musicians, and I can just listen to it. I don't have to. You don't listen, man. You don't have to tell me all the time. Like you said, like
Yeah,
I don't have to hear what you think, man. I want to hear what I think. You know what I mean? Like, especially what you think is crazy. Like, if what you think is crazy, but it's compelling and interesting, I'm willing to listen, even though it's crazy,
yeah,
because I can just get it out my head. But I'm
yeah,
not willing just to listen to you be crazy and it's not compelling. It wasn't said or done in an interesting way. So, now I'm with you. And Tall Black Guy, Stro Elliott, and some of the other K Tronada, I would say
yeah.
in the same way, produces a lot of that stuff that allows it's a palette, it's a platform.
Yeah, and I mean, and then there's like collaborations. You've done stuff. Folks we know like Bus Crates and a couple other people, and just generally that there's a diversity of music to listen to these days. Like kind of the upside, downside of like there's so much options that you can just have a hard time touching base with all of it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Or knowing what your
absolutely.
shit. So you gotta, so what I just try to do if I get a thread of something that, I like the sound of that. It's like, let me go listen to some more of that. And then you listen to a little more of that. And then also it's like, yeah, I don't have a full orientation to some of the guts and glory music. Some of the younger folks, like I'm out here, twin and gang. Like the slang is like I don't talk like that. So respectfully, I'm gonna just let y'all have that, and I'm gonna slide over here. Like if I want to listen to me transmuting stories of wildness and warfare into just the general emotion of personal ambition and self-direction, I'm gonna just go to the classics. I'm not gonna
Yes, that was really well said. Damn.
not gonna
Transmuting
yeah,
ideas of warfare into the personal ambition.
yeah, that's
Because
that's
that's what it is. It's
that's
why you
what
listen. It's why you listen to Pusha T,
yeah.
knowing you don't want to sell dope.
I don't want to sell no cocaine, man, but I get what he said. I see where he coming from.
It's the personal ambition. It's the drive,
It's
right?
like,
It's
yeah,
the
I'm gonna
thing.
see the odds and stuff, like I'm gonna do my
No,
thing. It's the like I said, the thing I take from Jay Z, especially him with his little revival of what's the name in the 30th anniversary. Was it Blueprint, right? Yeah,
reasonable doubt. 20,
Reasonable Doubt.
25,
Reasonable
25 of Blueprint, 30 of reasonable doubt.
Reasonable Doubt
It's crazy.
is the thing that is transferable is the I will not lose. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, y'all, I'm going about to do my thing in the world, and that is an ethic. Hopefully you're not doing your thing by destroying the neighborhood.
Right.
or like evicting all your neighbors and buying all the property, evicting all gentrifying the neighborhood. But also, yeah, that you have to wrestle with that. You know what I mean? It is the thing I think in even when I guess this is a reflection to tune in. We were at the 8 Seconds Rodeo and they had DJ, and they're like playing, using music as a bridge, like, oh, who's from this age? What generation is do? And when I see the younger people, including my daughter, when they play like what's the name? Glorilla? Is it Glorilla? Was it? And they are transmuting the energy of some stuff she might say into I'm doing my thing. Like I'm doing my thing in the world. Right. And now so they like getting hype, the same way if like my part of town come on, they'll be like, I hear that. I'm like, I'm like, rock on, like I'm out here. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm about to I'm feeling my sense of self and like the way I want to move in the world, right? And the words, every word being said in the song, although most of my part of town, I don't think I have too many problems with. But there's some other songs that we could pull out of the stack that'd be like, yeah, like we can't really play that on. We can't play that at the cookout while the kids are still up.
Right. Yeah, my part of town was actually, I mean,
Pretty
they weren't
mellow, you know what I'm saying?
back then. So,
but there's some other songs we could play that we may get super hyped and may dance real hard to. It's like, yeah, you have to look at the kids and be like, it was a different time. Y'all wasn't there.
Oh yeah, cool G rap. I mean, a lot of as good as G rap was and is, like, yeah, on that Road to the Riches album and some of them successive albums, that was, in retrospect, so that's a little rough.
A little hard, a
little rough, man. That was a little harsh, man.
I'm not here to justify.
A little harsh.
You shouldn't have put them two words together. But I'm just letting you know. Right. I'm just letting you know the feeling that we had on the inside. You know what I'm saying? Was about a certain level of self-expression and doing your thing, and like, even if the odds are against you, you about to make it happen out here in the world. You know what I'm saying? You gotta believe in yourself. So yeah, I'm at the tap in. I mean, the thing I think is a good thing about this moment, and even with Black music is sort of, and it maybe I think it's happening sometimes. Although I did even see a post something on the internet earlier today, but it was like referencing the piece was the conversation as was referencing like rappers and then the devaluing of musicianship and then I was like, well, actually, I don't think that's. I mean, a lot of us, and like, I definitely, I got immediate into the sort of defensive mode of like, well, as a person who that used to make music and still, thinks about it, thinks about making music or hears things, and is like you wanted to express yourself, but you may not have had all the tools to do it that way with music, with an instrument or with this, so you found a way to express yourself, and then though. Most of the time we was open to like, yeah, I'm down to do something with somebody that knows how to play the guitar a little better or can do the piano. It was like, I ain't against that. I just, you wasn't at the house last night when I felt like I needed to say what I wanted to get off my chest. So I put on some beats and turned it, and we was freestyling. I don't know when I wasn't there in the 2000s. It seemed like freestyling just turned into some goofy goof time shit for young people. I'm trying to be positive as I can, but sometimes I think
it got very organized, and so you started getting these like you get these like freestyle battles, which aren't really freestyle battles, right? Like Smack and a lot of these like things now, where it's like I talk about you, like I talk about your dad and your mom, and again, not really rapping to a beat, so it's kind of like it's its own kind of social,
it's its own thing,
like spoken word. So it do
your thing though, just
it evolved. Let's say that it evolved from us just coming up with words off the top of our brains to put it together. I did want to real quickly the second theme and then share a couple names around like it went, and when I first thought about it, was like kind of UK jazz, and a lot of artists who were out of the UK who were doing some really interesting things. But then I thought about Terrace Martin, I thought about Theo Croker, who are from America, and I just thought really about this idea of jazz, like jazz artists who can now do all different kinds of music. Mm-hmm. Like Terrace Martin can go from producing for hip hop artists to doing jazz to doing instrumental stuff to doing outside, right? Theo Croker is on the new Wyclef album. He's got hip hop songs, but I saw him just doing street jazz, right? Like, and so you have that, and then kind of in the UK, you have this merging of sound that they have with like reggae influences and breakbeat influences and drum and bass influences, right? that are the influences in, but while being very prodigious in jazz. So whether you're talking about Yusef Days, the drummer, Fenna, Nubia Garcia, just really, really interesting jazz artists who are not pigeonholed, right? And I think in some ways, the purist in me that likes jazz thinks about it a certain way, but then the reality is our favorite jazz artists always did unique things. They evolved, right? Like Entombed did jazz, and then he did Juicy Fruit.
Yep.
Then he did New York Undercover. So what are you gonna do here, right? Like, Grover Washington Jr., right? Did straight jazz. Next thing you know, he does Just the Two of Us, right? With Bill, what's his name? With
Bill Withers.
Bill Withers, right? So we have a history of our,
Yes. Oh, the best is yet to come with the Patti LaBelle, right?
Patti LaBelle, yeah. So we have this history that jazz artists doing that. So there's this crop of jazz artists doing that is much in the vein of it. So yeah, I mean, I suggest I'll send you some of the songs, maybe like selected songs, and we could share maybe some songs from folks that we're talking about, so people who may not have listened could check it out. But yeah, I think it's a good. I mean, I think to your point, it's a good time to listen to music. One, because there's so much of it. Like this idea that hip hop or any music is suffering right now is actually kind of bullshit, because it's just so you got access to so much of it, you can find what you want. Again, it's interest.
Yep. Like the music, the music is not necessarily like the idea that like, oh, music's not good right now. It's like, oh, the music there's lots of great music being made if your orientation for a different time where whatever was popular was also on some sort of central broadcasting.
Right. Or Tuesday, you knew to go to Funko Mart or Sound of Willingboro and like.
Yeah, and you're gonna pick up the news. Like, nah, you guys, you gotta get out there a little bit and you gotta listen to stuff. You gotta ask people what they listening to. And the one thing I will say I am impressed, especially with my own kids, I think I brought this up before, is they listen to a lot of different music. You know what I'm saying? And like in on angles that I'll be like, oh, how'd you even find that? Like, I don't even know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have no orientation to why you decided to listen to that. But it's all right, that's pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, the children, they have a much wider musical palette at a younger age, I think, frankly, than we did.
Yeah.
And some of it is just you got access to more.
Yeah. The old man shakes fist at the sky, like talk about put my Johnny my Donny Hathaway back on. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can listen to more music. More music is good. Like, let's hear more music. Let's not, we don't gotta limit ourselves. I ain't really trying to go for all the K-pop though. Just keep it real with your K-pop people. I'm saying, like, no disrespect. Don't take it personal. Some of it I got a certain feeling about the world, and I mean, super poppy music in general. I'll be like, I don't feel how pop music feels in my heart, on my insides.
No, you don't. Yeah, that's one thing for everyone listening. Just does not feel how pop music feels.
I don't feel like that. Yeah, so I'm just not going to be there with you. If you be like, tell it, I'm not going to feel about that the way you feel about it. So let's just not talk about it. Let's go on. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you enjoy it and you're having a good time. But I don't know if I'm gonna feel that way. Word up, the big bird. All right. So I'll at least put we can put some recommendations. I'll put at least a link or something in the show notes. Yeah, I mean, and then if you're listening and you want to recommend somebody we should be listening to, send an email at what I'm saying.
Give it to us, man.
You know what I mean? Ask your head at gmail.com or put it in the comments when you see this on the interwebs and you see this clip. If this is the clip that you see, because you may not see this clip, because this is probably not going to be a very exciting clip. But you know what I'm saying? If you a listener, go find a clip and then just put it in there and let other people be confused and wonder why you put in music recommendations. See, that's how we will drive the natural engagement.
Right, that's right. And thanks for It's interesting how people participate with us in very unique ways. Like, yeah, I was listening. I thought this about this. I'm like, okay, cool. That was cool. I didn't know you were listening.
I know, well, I'll just say this to interesting exchange. I'm trying to remember. W. Kamau Bell was the response, but it was like a comedian or a writer, as I'm saying. Like, yeah, but like, there was a time, there is a value to like sort of a time when you would be just really good at a creative discipline. And then there was like a system or a space you could go into and do your thing and not have to also like be doing all this other stuff for your creative thing to be experienced. But then W. Kamau Bell's response was very like, yes, I totally agree. And also listen to my thing on my Substack and go to my on my Discord and join me for more in our chat group. And it was like, good job there, W. Kamau Bell. You're a good comedian. Because that's like, yeah, both of these are the same. This is the joke where it's like, oh, do I need to have a Discord Tuesday or something where we be together and you tell me how you felt about the show? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, America. Planet Earth.
Y'all say y'all want to have the town where y'all get on with us and we just say shit and y'all say shit back to us. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. I mean, I'd be happy to put something together. I mean, it might be fun. I mean, we want to be dynamic. So, all right. If that's that, I mean, I'll say that thing for the good order. I say peace.
Good.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Good Brothers. Thank you to my good brother, Majestic. Good Brothers is a part of the Ask Your Oldhead podcast feed where you are listening right now. You can support the podcast by listening, subscribing, rating, sharing, wherever you do your podcast thing. You can also search Justice Rajee on Patreon and become a patron and, help make this thing go as more comes your way. Thank you for tuning in. One love to all the fathers out there. Again, if you have some music you would suggest for us, go ahead and shoot us an email at askyouroldhead@gmail.com. And we'll follow up. You can also find us on the internets, wherever the internets be internet. With that, I'm going to say peace.